Alright, I got our broach plug all made. And how you want to cut this is you want to cut it so that the starting portion of the broach is just below the surface here. That way when you put your broach plug in and you go and put your broach in, that the broach will start. So that's just take a caliper and measure the width of your broach here. Just make sure that your slot is deep enough for the broach, and then as you push it through, why it cuts it. So let's head on over to the press now, and let's get this keyway cut. Alright, I think you'll be able to see. Spray this down with plenty of oil here. And we'll get started here. What you want to do too is you want to make sure when you get the pressure on your broach, once it starts, that once it starts cutting and you start putting some pressure on it, you want to release the pressure and let your broach recenter. Like that. Otherwise you run the risk of your broach breaking. I'm gonna find a little piece of steel here so I can push that through. All right. Okay. Now they give you a couple little spacers, and this is so you can adjust your depth of your cut. Bring this back up. All right, let's make our second pass through here. Hold your point oil on your boat. And don't be in a hurry. This is where an arbor comes in handy. So you pull it down rather than humping jack on my foot. Down the arbor. Alright. Put our little pusher back through. And their broach is out. All right. All right, there's our keyway all cut. I left it a little bit shallow because I got to machine a thread on the outside here yet, and if I put the keyway to full depth, I might have been having a problem with cutting that thread breaking through. So I left it shallow. Here's a piece of 1/8 inch key stock that's going to go in there. So I'll just machine the key stock so that it's shallow enough to where this will just slide on. Alright, I got this all set up here. I'm going to be cutting a 32 pitch thread, and the reason I have the dial indicator on here is when I feed in with the compound, I can read exactly how many thousandths I've fed in, because the depth of that thread is 20 thousandths deep. So here we go. We're going to make a scratch pass, and then we're going to check it with a thread gauge. Alright. Looks like that's got it. Okay. Feed in another 2 thousandths here. A little cutting oil on it. Okay, here we go. come back to our 0. And we'll feed in another 0.002 with the compound here, right there. Here we go. This should be our final pass. Okay, here we go. Make a scratch pass here and go over that with a file, a little Scotch-Brite, and it'll be done. Okay, I'm not going to feed in with the compound at all this time. Okay, that should be it. All right, looks good. Now what I've got to do is I got to make the dial that's going to fit over this and the lock nut that's going to screw on here. All right, I'm back on the lathe here and getting ready to make the dial. I got the inside board And what I'm going to do is knurl the outside of this here, and then part of it is going to get turned off, and that's where the markings are going to be for my degrees. So slow this lathe down here a little bit. We're in gear. I can't use my other knurling tool because it won't go big enough. Looks pretty good. All right, just a direction here, and we'll back this out. Looks pretty good. All right. All right, now this part here, I got to take about 50 thousandths off of that, a ½ inch deep. Touch the front of it here. Set my PRO switch the feed direction now. There we go. Let me get a caliper here and let me check that size, see where we're at. All right, I got about 50 thousandths to take off this yet. One more cut. Alright, that'll do it. Now I'm going to take a chamfering tool, I'm going to chamfer this edge, and then I'm going to part it off, turn it around, and I got to machine a step in the back of it here, like this one here, and then make a lock ring that will go against this to lock this to the lock plate, which is going to be keyed to the spindle. Let this off. Alright, going to start turning the OD this down to put a shoulder on it here. Alright, I gotta put chamfers on this part, and then I can come out of the lathe, and the next thing that'll be done to it is I'll be engraving it. Alright. Alright, I got these parts over on the bench here, and you can see how this is going to go together. This is going to slide in here, and the lock ring that I got to make is going to get threaded on here, and this is going to get keyed to this spindle like this here. And then my lock plunger is going to be in here, and it will be locking on this piece. It'll be locking in here, and this part here, I'm gonna engrave again on the, put the rotary table on the mill, and I'm gonna engrave a line every 10 degrees. And then I have to make a fixture to number it. So that way all the numbers are evenly spaced, and they're all lined up proper together. So it's coming along. I'll probably do this nut off camera because you've all seen that before. It's just turning and doing some internal threading, and this piece here will be my test piece to check the thread width and make sure that it threads on there good. And the next thing I'll have to do is I'll have to machine the keyway in this spindle here for this lock ring, and shorten it up and then thread it, and then I'll have to make a tube with a knurled knob on it for the collet. All right, I touched off, and we're going to come down with the end mill 20 thousandths. There. Needed to make the slot for the keyway 88 thousandths deep, so I got another 8 thousandths to go. Right there. Now what I gotta do, this end mill measures 121 thousandths, so I gotta step over each side 2 thousandths. Okay. There's our keyway, and this just slides on here. Like that, and then the dial slides over the top of it like that. And this here is the nut I made for it this morning. That's going to thread on here. I'm not real happy with that knurl, but and then the lock pin, when the lock pin comes out, it'll lock everything in place. And I was going to make a threaded nut to go on here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a collar that fits on here with a set screw, and that'll keep everything together. So well, I'm afraid at this point I'm going to bring this video to a close, and looks like there's going to be one more part of this. A lot of pieces to make, just takes a lot of time, and the next hardest thing to do is going to be to scribe the dial and making the fixture that this wheel is going to sit in, so that when I number it, my spacing and everything is right. That's going to be a little tricky, but anyway, hope everybody's having a great day, and we'll see you in the next part. Thank you. Bye-bye.